everybody, welcome to Drive-Thru Review 562. Today we're going to talk about Doom. Now this is a new game from Fantasy Flight Games, and this is based directly off of the latest Doom video game that came out this past year. So Doom's obviously an old franchise, first-person shooter franchise from the 90s that's had several iterations of the games, and it was updated again this year. And it actually had a board game a few years ago, and that was sort of a Space Hulk style game in a way, and this is kind of a new derivation from that Doom formula, which has been carried through to Descent and Imperial Assault and so on, and now it's kind of revisited again in Doom. But don't let that scare you away like it's going to play exactly like those games. It really does not. So let's jump into how the mechanics and everything work, and then I'll tell you what I think of it. Okay, here's just about everything that you're going to get in the game. And the first thing probably to look at here is the Cyberdemon Miniature. Now this guy will require some assembly. Basically, you just push in the two arms and the head, and that's it. And there's no glue or anything involved. This is an awesome, huge miniature. Nice detail. Take a look there. I probably will paint these. I have a lot of stuff to paint, but these are really cool. And then you have these guys, which I can't remember the name of them. These are also a pain in the butt sometimes in the video game. They shoot lots of missiles. And we've got some of the old classics here. The Cacodemon. I'll go with the little eyeball. And then your sort of standard demons there. Those guys that throw the fireballs. And let's see, we've got some of the mutated shoulders here. Pretty cool. And then the pinkies. I think that's the last kind. Oh no, there's one more. These are really neat too. I like these. These look good. And then the Revenants here, which is kind of a new one, I think. I don't remember the old ones having this. And then there are four of these Space Marines, and they're equipped with different weapons, but you can just kind of use those as signifiers there. Or if you do different weapon loadouts, you want it to kind of match up. So these are also really cool. Take a look at those. Good chainsaw. All right. So how is the game actually going to work? Okay, well, there's different scenarios that you can play through. And the game comes with the 4 rule books. Here, the operations guide is the different scenarios that tell you different maps and things to set up. I just set this one up randomly. And then there's the learn to play guide. So you read this first, jump in, gives you a little tutorial, which is good for getting up and learning the game. The mechanics are really simple. And then you kind of have your rules reference. Don't have to refer to this too much, actually. The rules in here are pretty straightforward in terms of how everything goes, but I did have to refer to it a couple of times. No big deal. Now, there are sort of 2 groups here, or 2 operations, and each of them is 6 missions. And so you can do these a couple of different ways. You can just play a one-off mission or whatever. What you're going to do is you're going to choose a mission. You can play sort of a campaign. That's kind of the first team. It's to win 4. So one player is kind of like the Overlord playing the demons. The other players, it could be 1 to 3 other players playing different Space Marines. You could have one player controlling all the Space Marines if you wish. And you're going to choose a mission. And so what's going to happen is it's going to give you a map setup. You're going to set that up. And then it's going to give you a choice here of different cards that you can pick from. Now, some of these are specified by the map itself. So they'll say, hey, you're going to do a sample collection style mission with this, or an asset extraction. Now, there's nothing stopping you really from mixing and matching these. There is some opportunity for sort of level building, but I'll talk about that more in a minute. So you can take one of these, and then the mission will also specify one of these invasion cards here. So an infestation, horde, or assault. This is going to kind of drive a little bit of the AI, a little bit of the setup and things like that, in terms of what the different teleporters and things are going to do. And this other one is going to tell you, you might have these objective tokens out here, or you might just need to go pick up a certain amount of these, or escort one to a certain point that you'll mark here with another token on the board. And that's going to tell you all that. And then sometimes, or all the time, the encounters are going to tell you to go ahead and pick one of these, but you can also just shuffle these up, and the rules tell you draw 2, and then you choose one and keep it, and then you put it face down. So that players don't know quite what you're going to be spawning. And what this is going to tell you, and based on the rules of these cards and the munition, these spawn points, you can see there's a blue one, a red one, and a blue one. Now these are actually not yet activated. These will get activated at certain points based on, again, how the mission works. But when you go do spawn stuff, add a blue one, you can either spawn a Pinky or a Cacodemon, and then you can also get these 2 buff tokens here that you can add to your different demons. Or you can, in this case, do 1 Cacodemon, 1 Pinky, and 3 of these from the yellow, and then 1 possessed soldier and 1 Baron of Hell. So these are going to kind of give you your different sort of spawning activities. Now the other thing that the Overlord or the Invader is going to do is they have this deck of these event cards here. And these are sort of like based on different classes, different types. So you've got armor defensive. And each of these are going to be 6 of these armor defensive cards here. So you're going to take 3 groups of these. Now the missions give you sort of a specific loadout, but you can really kind of go in here and sort of deck build a little bit. So basically just choose 3 groups, shuffle them together, and then you have a card or deck that you can play through. And then you're going to draw up to 6 cards every turn and play those cards at different points. Now, as terms of the Space Marines, we'll move over here. Now, each Space Marine here, you can see has got their sort of loadout. So the chainsaw guy is Charlie. So there's Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. And you're going to take the figure and the card. Everybody has kind of the default of 10 hit points. And then you have a default action here where it says, whoop, discard 1 card from your hand to gain 6 movement points. So if there's nothing else that you can do with a set of cards you're going to get, which is going to drive your actions, you can always do that. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take these different loadouts, and there's a couple of things. So there's different weapon types here. So if I took the shotgun here, and I would take, let's see, 1, 2, 3. So I would take these 3 shotgun cards, and maybe somebody else could take shotgun cards, but you can't have everybody with a shotgun, right? There's only 2 groups of that. And then you've got the double barrel shotgun and so on. And it goes all the way down to, let's see if I can find the BFG. Here we go, this one here. Now you can see this one has these kind of dash marks. You can't take those to start. So anything with those sort of hash marks you don't start with. But you're going to take 2 groups. So I may take the shotgun and the double barrel shotgun, or the plasma rifle or something. Now everybody's also going to get a deck or stack of these 4 kind of basic Marine cards. Armor, reposition, quick shot. So these are going to go along with your 2 weapons. So you have these 4 plus the other 6 from here, and that's going to be your starting deck. And typically you'll draw up to 3 cards. But then you can also take here one of these many class tiles or cards. So you can be a close combat specialist, gives you a special ability. You could be a squad captain, get +1 hand size, get a special ability. There's a ton of these. And the rule books here give you kind of some different loadouts here. These are called UAC fire teams. So you can sort of break these up and say, okay, we're going to have a group of fire team halberd or fire team scimitar, and it's going to be a certain kind of makeup, a certain kind of play style between those. And then here you have your sort of standard loadouts like this. So you can say you give Alpha these and these. And so this just gives you kind of the starting way to sort of go about getting up and playing right away. And that's kind of like your basic setup. Now again, you can play this through a course of multiple games, just do one-offs, take turns playing the Invader or the Overlord, and just kind of have fun with it. So again, what you're trying to do is going to be driven by those objective cards. Now typically what the demon player is trying to do is get frags. So as they kill these Space Marines, and they will often, hopefully, if you're the Invader, then these are going to go off the board. They're going to come back in at any of these spawn point locations here. Now you might have others on the board, like I've got one way up the top there that's not quite activated, so you can go up and activate that based on the scenario rules and so on, and you can respawn at any of those. And the Invader is going to collect these frag tokens, and so you're going to try to get as many frag tokens before the Space Marines do their job. Now, how does a round work? Well, the first thing you're going to do each round is prepare this initiative deck. Okay, so you're going to have cards for each of the different Space Marines, and based on the number of players, you might actually throw in extras of these. Like if you're playing a solo game versus somebody else, you might throw in 2 of these cards, and then you're going to shuffle in the number of these Invader cards equal to the number of demon types that are on the board. So you can see we've got the 3 types out here, and that means that the Invader will then have they'll go find the card for each of those types. So we've got the Imp, we've got the Cacodemon, and then what are these guys? Oh, the Mancubus. I always forget their name. So we're going to have these out, and these kind of show their abilities and stats and things. So in this case, there's 3 types of demons out. We're going to shuffle in 3 here of these Invader cards. We're going to shuffle those up, and this is kind of drive the initiative and the turn order for the rounds. Then the Invader is going to draw up to 6 of these event cards, and these are all the cards they're typically going to have for the course of the entire turn. Now at this point they can look at the cards in their hand and they can choose if they want to discard up to 3 of these, and they gain these Argent power tokens here, and these can be placed on your invasion card, this card here that tells you how you're going to invade, or you can actually put them here on these cards. So we're going to go ahead and maybe put that on our possessed soldier, and you can see each of these has a special ability that you can activate when you spend one of these. So there's a very instant decision to be made as you draw your event cards for the round. You can say, you know what, this one probably isn't that useful this turn, so I'll draw, maybe discard these two, and then get some of those buffs for some of my units that I have here on the board. Now you're also going to ready any of the demons. So if I'd activated all my imps, I kind of just tap the card or turn face down or whatever, and at the start of the turn, these are all going to activate, so I'm going to have access to all the demons there that are on the board. If I spawn new demons on the board, then I'll be able to, add more initiative cards into that deck. But then we're going to flip over the top card, and then we're going to see who's going to go. So in this case, the invader's going to go. It might be one of the Space Marines. You're going to do your actions on your turn. Now the way that the Space Marines go is they get one main action and then any number of bonus actions. And so a main action is going to have this symbol on it. A bonus action is going to have that symbol on it there. So you can play one card here for your main action, and then as many as you want for your bonus action. Now you also, again, have here your sprint. You can make that your main action. If you don't have a good main action card, you can discard that and you get 6 movement points. Now the interesting thing about this is you can move up to either 6 if you do the default action, or you have here your speed here, so you can go up to 4, and then 4 this time, and then maybe for a bonus action do this 2. But the movement is split up while you do stuff. So I might get a card that says let's move 6. So 1, 2, 3, I'll try to get line of sight on these guys, and then execute an attack, and then I can keep moving. And I might move into here and then do what's called a glory kill. And if you're familiar with the video game, you just go and maul the guy with a melee attack. So that's a cool kind of thing to do. And we'll just do kind of a simple attack here, and you get a range 5 attack, and it's going to show you what kind of dice you roll. And so you have a number of red and black dice. You might roll the black dice or the better dice. So in that case, I rolled 2 red dice. And this is going to go ahead and we're going to put 3 hits on whatever my target was. Now, if you're attacking the Overlord or the Invader, what they're going to do, they're going to flip a card for defense. And so you're going to flip the top card of your event deck here, and you're going to either get a special symbol like this, which is going to vary depending on the type of thing being attacked. So that's actually going to add 2 defense. Some of those might be like just an instant dodge where the attack just misses. You might also just get a shield or a number of shields here. You're going to flip that card, put whatever the card is that you got in your discard pile, and then reduce the number of hits. So let's say we just got a shield and we canceled the 1 hit. We got 2 more hits coming through, and then we'll mark it here with the tokens, a certain number of tokens. And you can see here, this imp, for example, has 3 hit points. So if ever you do 3 hit points to it, then it's dead. But if it ever has 1 hit point left, and it's going to vary based on the different demons, like the Caco demon here dies at 6, and then gets staggered at 4, then you can do what's called a glory kill. And to get a glory kill, you just have to move into its location, and you get this cool melee kill effect. So you might stagger it, and then again, use your movement that you had left over to go in and glory kill it. And then you're going to draw a card off the top of the glory kill deck. You'll shuffle these up. These are going to be cool. They're always going to give you 2 health when you get that card. Then you can put the card in front of you, and then you discard it at any point here. You can see you can do it as a bonus action. Discard this card to draw 2 action cards. These are all really cool effects. So that kind of entices you in a way to run in here, do a lot of damage, try to get a bunch of glory kills, and then you can trigger those really cool effects, which kind of keep you alive, give you more ammunition, and all kinds of stuff like that. Now you may also have cards here that you want to keep here that are reaction cards. These will trigger on defense and so on. So these can help you out, and you want to keep those for that. So you can do that. You can spend all your cards if you want, and then you can draw back up to your hand size. Now when you flip an initiative card and it's the demon player, they get to choose one of the groups that they have in front of them, and maybe will activate all your imps, all your Caco demons, and so on, and you're going to activate everybody in that group. They're going to be able to move and attack. So you can move up to that speed and you get an attack. And again, if you have any of these little special power tokens here, you can discard those off and then do extra bonus effects. And it's the same kind of deal with range and attacks. There's no glory kill for the demons in this case, but you're trying to go in and kind of focus fire down and kill off the Space Marines and get them to respawn, and again collect these frag tokens every time you kill them. Well, let's see, a couple other things about the game. If you run over one of these health packs, you can immediately get this and then immediately discard it, and that'll heal you for 5 health if you are one of the Space Marines. You can, let's see, there's the BFG. So if you walk over this thing, you'll take the BFG cards out of the main deck and then load that into your main deck for yourself. Now different things will activate these different teleporters. Sometimes opening a door will activate those teleporters. So now as you kind of move your way through the dungeon here, the space station, you're going to have more teleporters pumping out more stuff. And again, that's all dictated by the whatever the invasion card is that they selected will tell you what to spawn out of those different teleporters. The last thing probably to talk about is line of sight. It's very easy to determine. So if we take a look here, let's just move this guy back here as an example. As long as you can draw from one of your corners to somebody else's corner without going through a wall or a door or impassable terrain, there's like red lines and black lines, then you've got line of sight. Now, if you can't draw from all of your corners to all of their corners without going through like another figure or some other type of wall or something, then they've got cover. And what cover is when they flip a card for defense. Let's say we flip this card and we didn't really like it, then we can flip one additional card and then we have to take that effect. So that's what happens if you're in cover. Other than that, that's really kind of the basics of the game. You just you do the random initiative. You've got the goal set up by whatever the scenario is, and the demon player is trying to get a certain number of frags, and the Space Marine is trying to do one of possibly a couple handful of different objectives based on whatever kind of area or location they have to be in. And there's 12 different kinds of locations and scenarios to go through, and these are kind of double-sided. So you have the space station, and you have this kind of blasted Mars landscape as well to play on. Okay, so that is Doom. This game is fantastic. There's a lot of reasons that I want to say that. So first, I think let's just start from, is it like the video game, or is it faithful to the video game? And I'm actually a big fan of the series of Doom as well as the new one. The new one is by far the best in the series. And this really is very indicative of it. It feels it has some nice sort of little hints and Easter eggs and types of things that it takes from it. The whole glory kill part of the mechanics is awesome. It's a lot of fun. It really reminds you of kind of the best parts and of the most like just crazy bloody combat of the video game. The different weapon loadouts is very, very interesting in how that works. Kind of the loose story that's there is pretty sort of faithful to it, but it feels very much like it's possible to sort of do kind of like world building and map building and scenario building on your own here, which kind of leads me to the main point of why I really like this is the customization and configurability that's possible. Now you have this huge stack, first of all of these different classes, and this is going to give you different special abilities and change up the different effects and things that you can do. You might try to be a sniper. You might try this, class with a different kind of loadout because you can configure the different loadouts. And there's a lot of different, like fire teams that you can assemble. Even if you're playing with less than the 4 Space Marines, you get these little kind of bonus cards. You could just have one solo Space Marine, and they get a special card that allows them to do multiple actions on their turn, activate twice per round, and so on. They give you extra hit points and extra hand sizes and stuff like that. So it's going to scale easily based on the number of players that are actually in there. And in terms of the sort of customization on the Invader side or the Overlord side, I mean, there's a ton there. You can customize your event deck. You can choose your invasion cards, so you can change up kind of the different types of demons that are spawning out, from scenario to scenario. Just the different types of objectives and the different missions are really going to work. So there's really a lot here that you can really just play again and again and again. I don't think this game honestly ever needs an expansion. There's so much in here that you can just play again. There's 12 scenarios, for goodness sakes, that you can play through, and that you can play those very, very, very differently each time. I think I overemphasized the very there, but you're going to play differently each time. Now, from my perspective, this is the most fun to play as the Overlord type of player, because you have a legitimate kind of goal to go in and just frag these people and not just worry about kind of a race against the clock kind of thing, which you see a lot of like in Descent and Imperial Assault. So it's a very direct goal. You can really try to like, cordon off a guy and, take him out and then, just really go after it and really try to manage your cards. So you're just playing it competitively. There's no like storytelling element here. I mean, it's missing that. If you're looking for like, a campaign like Imperial Assault or Descent or that kind of more narrative RPG kind of thing, that's not really here at all. But in terms of like mechanically and competitively, it's a lot more fun, I think, to play this than any of those games. And so they have a similar mechanic between the two, the Space Marines and the Demon player, that is very interesting because you have this sort of deck of cards that you configured, and a lot of the cards kind of like pair up together. So like a plasma rifle, you might say, okay, I can play this card to do an effect, but if I have another plasma rifle in my hand, I can discard that to bump up the effect of this. And like the BFG is the perfect example that you need to have 2 BFG cards in your deck. So if you've gone through and like hoarded all the weapons, for example, then you might have a deck kind of too full, and you won't be able to get to that really big BFG effect that you want to do a ton of damage and kill the Cyberdemon with. And so there's a little bit of hand management there, and that works on both sides of it as well. So it's not just like always play every card. Even though the game really kind of invites you, both players actually, to just go out and like, okay, I'm just going to dump everything and kill this Space Marine or wipe out this group of imps or whatever. You want to run in the Space Marines case and like go in and do a bunch of glory kills, which can really pay off. So it kind of really like entices you to go in and just play like a maniac and run in, which is really fun, but that's not always the best thing to do, because you've really got to say, okay, well, no, I've been through these cards. I know I'm going to get this really good card, and this is really going to help us clear these guys out because they're not going to be able to spawn anything from this spot anymore or something like that. So that's a really interesting mechanic there. And the cool thing is sometimes you'll do combat and you'll just completely whiff and you're like, I didn't do any damage. But then the next turn you're going to do like, I did 10 damage, so I just wiped you out, or I just wiped out a bunch of demons. So it's got that good, like, big moments that are going to happen, those big kind of impactful, eventful moments that are really, really fun and cool. The other thing is, you have, in terms of the Demon player, that interesting decision at the beginning of the round where you try to figure out, okay, I can get rid of some of these event cards. And like, maybe this one's not going to be that useful. And then you can beef up and power up some of the demons that are available. And so you say, I don't like these, and get these imps, these little extra bonus on their fireballs. And, then I can really jack up. So you have that decision to make. Right then and there before you really have seen what order people activate in and all that kind of stuff. So that's a cool piece of, gameplay to really kind of sort through. Anyway, I can't really recommend this enough. I know the theme maybe doesn't apply to everybody. I think if you're a fan of the Doom series, I would get this in an instant. Obviously if the Doom theme kind of puts you off, then sure, you don't want to get too much into it, but it's a really fun game. And I kind of compare it to a couple other games that I've played over this year, The Others and Conan, because those are similar games where it's like scenario driven, one versus many, that kind of stuff. But you don't really necessarily have to play it as a campaign or anything. It just doesn't have that kind of albatross, hanging over the game. You could play this for like a mini campaign if you really wanted to, but it's really not necessary. But for my money, this one is like the most complete out of all of that, because you have so many classes, so many different kinds of things like that. There's just so many different ways to really invest and replay and replay and replay. Your money's worth is going to come out of this. Like I said earlier, you don't need an expansion. So definitely take a look at this one. Thanks.